Hello, everyone. Th- Thank you so much for joining us on today's event. For those of you who have not joined us before, my name is Kendall Fisher. I'm the Senior Media Production Manager, resident on-air host here at NetSuite. Before we begin today's event, it's super important to take a moment to acknowledge the devastating tragedy that took place in Uvalde, Texas on Tuesday. I know we are all so tired of sharing thoughts and prayers, and we're all so ready for real change. And while sometimes that feels unattainable, it is. And really, that change can begin with you. One step towards that change is prioritizing your mental health, which is why today's conversation is so important. This event is actually in honor of the end of Mental Health Awareness Month, and we are bringing you an interview with Adriana Carrig. She's the founder and CEO of Little Words Project. Now, if you've never heard of Little Words Project, they make these little bracelets that you can see right here with sweet messages on them. Their message is really to inspire and encourage people to be kind to themselves and pay that kindness forward one bracelet at a time. I mean, what better thing to talk about right now? Kindness. Adriana actually built the company to serve a greater purpose, and people really resonated with it. In fact, Little Words Project's bracelets are now sold in retailers across the globe, including Nordstrom, Victoria's Secret, and American Eagle, as well as a brick and mortar store in New York City and a pop-up in Boston. Now, we are so excited to discuss Adriana's journey with this company, how it's grown to be so successful and become really an adored brand that it is today, and how it's doing all of this while still making a positive impact on so many people and their mental health. At the end of today's conversation, if you've never been with us before, we always open it up to a live Q&A with the audience. So please use the comments to ask any questions that you have. Adriana and I will get to as many of those as we possibly can, like I said, at the end of today's event. And if you don't have any questions in the interim, why don't you just drop us a hello? Tell us where you're tuning in from. We know that you're tuning in from all parts of the world and so many different cities. We want to hear about where you are. So drop that in the comments as well. A hello, where you're tuning in from. And again, we'll shout out to as many of those as we possibly can. Now, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Little Words Project founder and CEO, Adriana Carrig. Hi, Adriana. How are you?
Hi, Kendall. Thank you. I'm doing well. Thanks for having
Awesome.
me.
Are you kidding? Thanks for joining us. I know we got to briefly chat a little bit before we hopped on here, and I am a wearer of Little Words Project. It's a bracelet that brings me a tremendous amount of joy every single day. Every time I put it on, I really do not go a day without putting it on. So I love the brand, and I'm so excited to dive in.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's always amazing to see other people wearing the bracelets. Even 8.5 years in, it still blows me away to see them in the wild. So
Yeah.
thank you for saying and wearing and being a supporter.
Yeah, of course, of course. Now, I asked everyone who's tuning in to tell us to drop a hello and tell us where they're tuning in from. But where are you joining us from right now, Adriana?
I am joining from beautiful Route 22 in Mountainside, New Jersey.
Love it.
We are
Love it.
We are headquartered here on the East Coast in Jersey. I'm a Jersey girl through and through, and this brand started in my parents' basement about 10 miles down the road. So it's just very full circle, and so excited to finally be in this beautiful office space here.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm actually on the West Coast, so I'm in Santa Monica. So I love that we have that. Let's fill in between. Everybody who's tuning in, tell us where you're tuning in from so we can hit all coasts and different countries and all of that. But now, Adriana, to kick things off, I obviously want to dive into the topic at hand, mental health.
Yeah.
What is the importance of mental health to you personally?
Yeah. So mental health, aside from it being just important across the board, for me, it's because, I dealt with a lot of negativity growing up my entire life. And it's what led me to wanting to start this business. I was bullied from a very, very young age, and it affected how I viewed myself. You know, it really affected whether or not I believed in myself or felt like I could accomplish whatever it is that I set my mind to. I didn't have what I have now. And I think it's because of the mental health journey I've been on. It's because of the constant therapy. It's because of medications that I've had to lean into, that got me to a place where I can finally start to, you know, I don't view things as obstacles anymore. I fully believe in what I'm capable of. And that really has a lot to do with, you know, not only flexing the muscle of being a business owner and seeing things coming to fruition when I do put my mind to them, but also taking the time to practice self-care and self-love and just being really intentional about how I spend my time and how I prioritize myself. It's definitely been a journey, and I'm constantly on it. We're theoretically all constantly on a journey of mental wellness and health. But, you know, it's absolutely something I prioritize, because if not, I'd still be that little girl who just doesn't view herself as a priority or doesn't view herself as someone who can achieve whatever she sets her mind to. So I'm grateful for that journey because it led me to where I am today.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to feel good to think about some of those obstacles that you faced at a younger age and how they've really kind of come to fruition in this amazing brand. And that's actually what I want to get into right now. How did all of that really encourage the impetus of Little Words Project? Take us back to the very beginning of how this all started.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, having been bullied my whole life, I really needed to create something for myself that would help me get through difficult times. So I would make bracelets for myself that said strength or believe or, you know, you got this. And this is when I was like 15, 16 years old, and I would wear them and my friends would ask about them, and, you know, I would pass them along. Then fast forward to college, I was still going through that negativity. A lot of it was female focused. A lot of it was from other women. And I did the same thing. I made a batch of them for my college sorority at the time, and it became this like iconic symbol of sisterhood for us. And we wore them and we passed them along and we shared them amongst ourselves. And it felt like when you saw a girl in a little word, it felt like a safe space. At the time, they were called Warm Fuzzies, but I digress. Once I graduated from college, thank God that name wasn't available. And my boyfriend, who's now my husband, my boyfriend at the time, and I were talking through how, like, wow, it really did make a difference to that chapter and to me as a young woman, young girl growing up with this negativity around me. So I was like, why not bring this to the masses? Why not make this an iconic symbol of sisterhood for women everywhere, of all ages, all backgrounds, all types? And that's what I did. We sat on my bed, I'll never forget, and we're spitballing on names. And my husband's actually the one who came up with Little Words, just simply Little Words. I added project because I wanted it to feel like a movement. I wanted it to feel like something more than just a product, which is what it's grown into.
Absolutely. So I do have to ask, what college did you go to? What sorority? Because, hey, somebody who's tuning in might recognize that.
I actually, like I said, true Jersey girl. I went to the College of New Jersey, which is the old Trenton State, a great little public college here in Jersey. I met my husband there, and I joined Delta Zeta sorority. So I was a member of Delta Zeta, and I still credit that chapter today with some of our initial, major growth. And they were so amazing when I asked them, hey, do you mind if I take this thing that, yes, I brought to us, but I'm going to now bring it to the world. And is that okay? And they were all so supportive. Like I said, it was my first true experience with kind girls and sisterhood, and feeling like I grew up with one brother, so it felt like I had sisters. And it really was my first experience to understand that this could be real. This could happen, especially when we had something so simple that connected us all.
That's great. I love that. I am a fellow sorority. I'm not Delta Zeta. I'm a Delta Gamma from USC. So, but I feel the same way. And I was a VP there. So I get the sisterhood, and I think that's so important. I think that's what a cool way to kick this off. But I do have to ask, what were your original career plans post-college graduation?
Those original plans. Those are a dream deferred. No, I started, I went to college with the intention and the thought that I would maybe one day go to law school. And that's like just from the basic you know, how all young women who have, you know, an opinion or like an argumentative side, you know, I've been told forever, oh, you should be a lawyer. So that's kind of the classic story. That, and I love to read. I was an English major. I chose English because I thought it would maybe be a precursor to being a lawyer. My little brother went on to become a lawyer, so it was definitely in my blood. It's something I wanted to do. So I took the LSAT. I took it twice, which is the test you take to become a lawyer. Took it twice. And by the second, I was taking the test the second time as I was like working on the behind the scenes launching of this product. So I remember thinking to myself, like, if the test tells me I'm going to like get into Harvard, then I'll go. But if it doesn't, then maybe I'll just like put my energy into this, all my eggs into this basket. And it didn't. I'm not in Harvard. So at the same time, I was really seeing like more and more of the wheels were turning on this idea. And I had come up with the concept of the traceability and the little code on the tag that I'm happy to go into. But that felt like an X factor that made this feel like a real viable option. So I'll never forget the day I came home. I told my parents, I got my scores back, but I'm not going to go to law school. I'm going to see this thing through. I'm going to bead bracelets in your basement. And I was so lucky to have parents that were like, how can we help? And to this day, I credit my parents for the beginnings. My dad was my first shipping department. My mom was manufacturer. Like, we did it together in the very beginning. And I'm forever grateful that they let me follow that passion and not, you know, they weren't those typical parents that are like, no, you have to go to law school.
Right. Well, that's great. That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay. So tell me a little and maybe it's the traceability tag on the bracelets, but tell me a little bit about when you realized that this kind of thing that you had, this, let's call it a side business in college, that this could actually turn into a feasible full-time business for you that you're running today.
Yeah. So, you know, I think it really started with my being this young woman who went through all that negativity, right? And I had been working on that. I was very lucky, as I said, to have parents that were always promoting this concept that, you know, you can do anything. You can set your mind. If you set your mind to it, you can achieve anything. My mother's a Mexican immigrant, and her sentence to me is always "querer es poder," which means if you want it, you can achieve it. And that's now a mural on our wall at the office here, because it really is the thing that kept me going through all those difficulties. So beyond just the idea that if I believed in myself, I could achieve it, I really started to come up with these little elements, the traceability tag, seeing that little like microcosm of women at my college who were still doing it. You know, when I had left, they were making them themselves, and they were working through it, and they were continuing to pass them. So when I graduated and I traveled a bit, I was working in retail. Like I said, I was studying for that test. There was just so many different things that had me feeling like this is something that can maybe actually make a difference, and it can work. I see it still working. A year out of college, these women are still doing it. So that plus this blind faith in myself that I had developed and honed over the years led me to feeling like, let me just try. What's the worst that'll happen? And to this day, I very much so credit that growth to my willingness to just like try.
Yeah, that's amazing. Really quick, can you describe, just for people who don't know, can you describe the traceability tag?
Yeah. So every bracelet has a different inspirational word on it. And the idea is you wear your word for as long as you need it, and then you pass it on one day to someone who needs it more. And the part that makes us special, the part that makes us something that's not, you know, just a little plastic bracelet, because it's, you know, very well made in this beautiful thing, but it makes it more special that you're getting you're basically entering our community. So each bracelet has a different unique code on the back of the tag. I don't know if you can see that there. See if you can.
Yeah.
There you go.
I know. I was like, I can bring mine up while you're talking too.
Yeah. Each one has a little code. That code is unique to that bracelet. So what you do with that code is you register it on our website. You put in your story, why you chose that word, how you got it. And then once you feel that you no longer need that word, or you meet someone else who needs it more, I think that's really the key. You are to pass that bracelet along, encourage her or him to register that bracelet. And then once it moves person to person from there on out, you can track and see where it goes. So you get a notification every time that bracelet is passed on. You see how your single act of kindness is affecting people down the line. And I think once that idea came to me, it was truly like one of those stories. I like shot up in bed. It came to me in a dream, and I wrote it down in my notes, a tag code that you can track. And that was it. I mean, that was really truly the moment that I thought it could be a real viable business.
It's amazing. I want to take a pause really quick because we have a ton of hellos coming through, and I want to make sure I get to these before the next batch show. We have Mario from Uruguay, Taniru from Hyderabad, Chantel from South Africa, Latom says it's always important to be aware of what's good for your mental health and what could be damaging it. I love this initiative. Thank you for that. Shane from the Philippines, Roxanne from Georgia, Jivan from India, Candace from London, Francesca from Chicago, Laurel from St. Louis, Ashim from India, Asai from South Africa, Julianne from Denver, and Sunil from Nigeria. We also have a comment that just quickly came in right now from Lindsay. I bought 5 bracelets last week. I love them. They're the perfect little pick-me-up when I need a positive reminder. I couldn't agree with that more. Exactly what I just said. I wear mine every day for that. Danielle says, I'm wearing my Little Words Project bracelet now. I love it when I'm a walking advertisement for a NetSuite customer. Love that. I think that might be Danielle who works at NetSuite. So, those things are important. I love that. So many people tuning in. Thank you all. And obviously keep commenting, ask any questions that you have for Adriana, and we're going to get to those at the end of today's conversation. But get back to it. Okay, so Adriana, you have this idea. You know that there's something to this. You can turn it into a business. You know it's there.
Right.
How do you go about getting it off the ground and financing it?
Yeah, so we hard. I'm like trying to put myself back in that place. I was 23 years old at the time. I had just graduated. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just turned down law school essentially and decided, let me start this business, right? So luckily I had been working all through college. I had a little bit of cash saved up. I had about $5,000 and I put that all into it. I was like, let's just go for this. I always say this was the business on sale because I got friends of mine and other members of my college campus who I had known through the years, who had always, I'd always been kind to, and they'd always been kind back. And we started working together. I said, a friend of mine was just starting a website production company. So she started the website for us. I had another friend who was in video production. So he did the video for us. And we kind of just got the ball rolling. And pretty soon it was like a train I couldn't get off if I tried. So the $5,000 was that initial investment. And as far as getting it off the ground, I really leveraged my network again. I reached out to that entire chapter of women who were, supporting me and championing me from the beginning and said, hey guys, the site is live. We launched on 11/11/2013. And we had this cute little graphic that said, like, your wish has come true. Little Words Project is now open. And I had every member of that chapter post it on their Facebook. We used social media from the very beginning. They posted it on Facebook. And within the first month, we had already turned a profit. I had turned that $5,000, pretty much doubled it in that first month. So
wow.
We were very lucky to be at the kind of like the advent of like the Instagram social media culture. We were right at the very beginning of that. And I showed the behind the scenes process on that. I was always very transparent. And people just really loved what I was doing. And the fact that I was like showing me and my dad shipping packages, and it was behind the scenes that people love even still to this day. So I credit it to, that initial growth, to that openness, transparency, and asking for help from the people around me.
Great. So what was your original go-to-market strategy, and why was that going to be the route you took?
Yeah. So our original go-to-market was just having an online a D2C. I didn't go, the Etsy route or those more prevalent websites at the time, even though I did have a lot of people telling me I should. And the reason was I really wanted there to be a story that lived alongside the product. I didn't want to just go the route of, the average maker, which I was at the time, because I thought that the customer needed to come to a central hub and understand what they were buying and why. They had to understand why they were willing to spend $20 to $25 on this product that, yeah, maybe they could make themselves. I mean, I was making them myself, so why wouldn't they go do it themselves too? It had to be a community. It had to have a story. It had to tell it all in one spot. So D2C, direct to consumer, online was the move.
That makes total sense. But then you did actually land in some major retailers.
Yeah.
I explained a couple of them at the beginning, Nordstrom being one of them. What was the first big one that you landed, and what impact did that have on your business strategy?
Yeah. So about 3 years into running the .com, mind you, in these 3 years, I'm 23. I'm moving from the basement to my first studio apartment with, again, my now husband. And the business was a part of the apartment, and it was a whole thing. So for the first 3 years, I was just getting my sea legs, figuring out how it works, figuring out how I want to do it. And then about 3 years in, I had a rep reach out to me, a sales rep who does this for other brands, and said, hey, I'd love to put you in some retail stores and take a small commission and work with you on wholesale. And she taught me everything I needed to learn. And that was when I started my wholesale journey. I started going to markets. I started selling to stores in local towns. We now have about 1,000 retailers nationwide. And so we really started with those mom and pops. And then I went to one trade show in LA, actually, and met a buyer for Saks, who turned out to be the older sister of someone who I went to high school with, where it started. Yeah. So it was really just this beautiful, like, cosmic thing that happened. Saks doesn't sell lower price point products like ours, but they were having this one fun drop that they did, and they included little words. It was my biggest order to date. It was incredible. By this point, we were in an office space, and I had a full team of about 7 people.
Yeah.
We all packed that order together, and I remember putting it in the car. We all celebrated it. We put it on social media. And that was definitely the first experience of, like, wow, we're going to get into these bigger doors. This is going to happen. But then as far as notable, like, ongoing partnerships, ongoing brand, it was really Nordstrom who changed the game for us and kind of kicked us over the edge into a real, legitimately large business. And it's been incredible with that.
What would you say was one of your biggest lessons learned in those early days, whether it was your D2C or wholesale, any of your partnerships? What in those early days, what's something that, like, really sticks out to you?
I think the biggest lesson was that failure is the only option. And I know that sounds crazy, but you have to fail throughout your entire journey as an entrepreneur, and you have to be okay with it. Like, normalize failure, because it's going to happen no matter how you slice it. You're going to make a wrong move. You're going to do, order something too late. You're going to miss the cutoff for holiday shipping. I mean, there's so many things that are going to go wrong, and you have to not only be willing to, but you almost kind of want to in the beginning, because then you learn. And then when the stakes are much bigger, you don't make those same mistakes again, or you do, and that's okay too. Yeah. So I think the biggest lesson was, as a perfectionist, as a girl who has always been, like, type A, and I want everything done right, and the details really matter, and I still believe that. I had to learn to, like, be okay with failure, understand that it's going to happen no matter how many I's I dot or T's I cross, it's going to take place. So really just becoming okay with that was my biggest lesson to date.
What's one of those failures you can share with us that sticks out?
Oh my gosh. I mean, how much time do we have? I failed yesterday. I feel like, I don't know. It's constant, but in the very beginning, it's always for me, it was always the failures around big holidays that stick out the most, because it's so painful as a business owner. And when you're in sales and you're in consumer goods and the customer wants to buy something and you don't have it to sell. And it's like around these really ripe times for holiday, Valentine's Day, Christmas, whatever it is, you have to wait a whole nother year to get that right. And that sucks. But I remember I didn't have my tags in before my first or second Valentine's Day. And we ran out of the tags with the code, the whole point. And so I literally had to stop selling ahead of Valentine's Day. And I'll tell you, I'll never do that again. I'm always over ordered on tags because I can never have enough. But in the beginning, when you're being lean, because, you know, we were self-funded and still are, you really have to make that money work. And I've made a couple missteps in that.
But like you said, those were lessons learned. You have to fail in order to not do those things again. So I really appreciate that. How has your go-to-market strategy shifted? Obviously, we've talked, you started in D2C, then you went, you know, wholesale with some big retailers. But like, how has it shifted, especially over the past 2 years? And it's interesting because you started this in 2013, but what's crazy is right now we're seeing this shift to sort of the beaded 90s jewelry again, so these have completely taken off again. So, I mean, so how has your strategy shifted around that?
Right. Well, for starters, you're welcome to the world.
We love it.
I am going to own that this was Little Words Project that did this. I swear to you, when I first started, it was hard. I couldn't pay people to buy the product in the beginning, outside of like the people who knew me, the people who got it, and that the original, you know, the friends of friends. That's always been word of mouth. It's always been grassroots. But in the very beginning, it was hard to get like nobody cared about the product. They were like, I can make this myself, whatever. And so now to see that it's really taken off. You can go on Etsy right now and look up our brand name and see people using our pictures to sell their products. And it sucks. Don't get me wrong. I hate it, but I also, you know, it's also like flattery, and it's also showing the concept worked and people love it and they love what they're wearing. And I own that. And we own the original word bracelet in the ones that have been in market because of course we've all been making them since kids. But point being, we were very lucky in that I started something really ahead of the desire for it. And it helped us be first to market, which has helped us be the kind of pinnacle of these beaded word bracelets. And people refer to us as the OGs. I've actually spoken to a lot of those other businesses, female entrepreneurs who have done it. And they say like, you know, you guys are the OGs. I'm just so grateful to you. And I'm always trying to kind of help those women along as well, because there's room for all of us at the end of the day. Sorry, I always black out with that question because I'm like, we owned it.
Yeah.
Then you said, but then what was the second half of that question?
So how have you shifted to kind of address that growth? Like, what is your go-to-market strategy now?
Yeah. So, really, we've been all about diversifying our revenue stream. So adding wholesale was the first thing to do it, and at the mom and pop shops. Then it was adding majors, and now thinking through other big box retailers and how do we navigate getting into these bigger stores without upsetting some of our smaller stores, and being really intentional about the product offering and making sure that our price point is always the same and really not undercutting it no matter what, unless it's a one-off product. And then also now adding retail storefronts. We're looking at the retail landscape and seeing that D2C brands are really making that shift. And we were like, let's try it with this first one on Bleecker Street in Manhattan. And it was lightning in a bottle. We are so blown away every day by the reaction that the customer experiences. But at the same time, I don't know why I'm surprised, because whenever we talk about the product, whenever we have a face-to-face interaction with another person or a customer, or mainly women, and it's real and genuine, the customer loves what we're doing and they want to get involved. So it's always been just about figuring out new ways to meet our girls in the market and talk to them and help them through whatever they're going through, and make them realize that something as simple as a little word on your wrist can change the game for you. So just how many different ways can we meet a customer? How many different ways can we sell this product? We're going to try.
Yeah. Well, and so kind of along the same vein, if you will, you sell a few necklaces, rings, stickers, but you really have mostly stuck to selling bracelets thus far. Is there a reason behind that, or do you plan to expand beyond that, and why or why not?
Yeah. So, twofold. One, the reason has mainly been, because it's been working, and in as much as it's working, there's always still kinks that we have to work out. And so we finally, I feel like, have gotten to a point in the past 2 years. where the product, the bracelet is so refined. It's where it needs to be. There's maybe one or two more things we're going to adjust to make it even more of a seamless process to register. But the bracelet is where it needs to be. So I really wanted to focus on a hero product, be that one product that goes to market. And I'm so proud of how much we've accomplished with just one product. We added little accessories in addition to that, because we wanted our original, like our diehards and the women who are collectors of little words that have 50, 60 bracelets to have something else to also be able to play with. But now that we're growing and adding these retail locations, I'm selling other third-party products that other female entrepreneurs, all women-owned businesses in our stores, and seeing all these different things that I'm like, oh my gosh, imagine if we could collaborate with these women and create our own candle or our own cards or our own, and always still supporting them, but also being able to say, hey, we can do this and kind of hold hands together. And so we're really excited about the future. I actually have I'll show you a sneak peek product that we're working on right now.
Oh, amazing.
With all of our words that just kind of need, as you're drinking your morning shake or your coffee, it gets through the day, just super cute, like little things like this that, all about self-love and positivity and looking at a word that just helps your mental health and helps your mental state. If you're like going through something and you look down and see strength, whether it's on your wrist, your necklace, or your water bottle, I think it makes a difference.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned partnerships and with other, female entrepreneurs. And I know a big priority for you is giving back to charitable causes. Can you speak to some of those and how they tie to the Little Words Project's overall mission?
Yeah, absolutely. So from the very beginning, this was a big component for me, especially with the piece of the bullying that I went through as a young woman. And I remember that one of the big impetuses of starting the brand was I saw the movie by the Kind Campaign. If you're not familiar, definitely look up Kind Campaign. It's an incredible organization.
Lauren Paul.
Yeah. So in the very beginning, it was like my first ever bracelet launch. I had a post up and it was the word kind. And I remember saying like a portion of proceeds is going to go to the Kind Campaign. So that was like the first thing that I had ever done. And every month, the idea from the very beginning was to change over nonprofits. That got to be very hard to manage. So we stopped after a little while and started shifting to like, kind of as people reach out to us to give back, we would create a special bracelet and then we would donate anywhere from 25 to 100% of the proceeds of those bracelets to whatever organization they were trying to support. And we have been a part of pretty much everything that has happened since the beginning of this brand to now. And if you think back on the last 8.5 years, it's been a very tumultuous time as we've all experienced down to right now. And, we've been very lucky to have a platform that people, associate with kindness and are able to do these kinds of give backs. So to date, we've donated about $200,000 to various nonprofits. And I'm kind of convinced that number is higher. I have to, they gave me that number the other day. I was like, there's no way. You're forgetting all the things we've donated. I mean, it's been such a huge part of this story. But anyway, so fast forward to round out the story about Lauren Paul and Kind Campaign. Just late last year, we were able to interview her for my podcast, Glow Through It podcast, with one of my original employees, Mariah, on this team. She and I have a podcast where we kind of interview different women, entrepreneurs, and also just talk about life and how to glow through difficulties. And we got to interview her, and I got to tell her that she was one of the reasons I started this brand, and her organization has changed the game for so many young girls who have gone through that bullying. And we were able to partner with them last year on a give back. Most recently, just to kind of round out the question, we launched our new campaign called Little Words, Big Impact, which is a 365 always on campaign that is going to it has 12 different styles. Actually, it's 15 different bracelets that go back to different organizations from, Baby to Baby to Adopt a Classroom to the Loveland Foundation, which actually focuses on mental health in Black women and girls. And a myriad of other organizations that we're just so proud to work with. So it's been a huge part to answer your question.
Yeah.
In any other way.
Also, sorry, my dog clearly senses that there's some love going on here because he joined us. So for those of you who can see, he always comes over when there's like, when he's like, oh, I can sense that this is a really conversation. My mom is happy and and enjoying this. So
Sweet.
he's going to be here for a second.
That's
yep,
okay.
Okay.
You don't mind. We can all use a little puppy therapy today.
Right. Exactly. So you also worked with, organizations like the WNBA and stuff like that. What is the common vein, I guess, if it had to decide between all of them, what is like the ideal partner for Little Words Project?
Do you support and empower women or people in general? Yeah. I mean, it started with girls, started with women, but we see everyone wearing these bracelets. And no matter who you are, how you identify, at the end of the day, we just want people to feel like they've got a friend in anyone they meet that wears a little word. So any partnership that we work with, we definitely do kind of, we find that the female-based partnerships or brands really do come to us primarily, and we love working with them. But it's really just, do you practice what you preach? Are you genuine and kind? And if not, we're okay. We've had partners that we've been like, it's just not the right fit, even though it could be huge for us. But then we've also had partners, like you mentioned, WNBA and Nike Women, and a bunch of incredible ones coming down the pike that we're very excited about, that are just, they blow me away that we're able to work with these types of people.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's great. I mean, in all of this, it's really clear, Adriana, that the Little Words Project has grown tremendously since you started it in 2013. How do you lead in a way that ensures like all the pillars of your mission, spreading kindness, self-love, authenticity, all of that? How does that remain sturdy no matter how much the business scales? And actually, somebody commented about how consistency is so key for trusted customers. So I'm curious how you make sure that still flows seamlessly across wherever you're selling.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of the things that matters most to me. And I think, as we mentioned earlier, a lot of it lives in the details, right? A lot of it is in the customer appreciation that the care that goes into packing our boxes, the care that goes into responding to every customer DM on social, and anyone who's disgruntled, even if they've got an opinion about something, we want to make sure that we lead with love and kindness and show them maybe why we chose to do it this way, or why our price point is X, or how we navigate those difficult moments in life. And, we try to never ostracize. We try to never make anyone feel like they're not a part of this. We try to lead with inclusivity first. And that's by saying yes to those smaller partners and not walking away from smaller partner opportunities because we feel like we're too big. And we've never done that. And it's happened to us plenty of times, over the years, even as recently as last week. But the point being, we just try to always practice what we preach. And if we slip up or we mess up, or we, at the end of the day, we're all human, especially me. I'm just a girl who started beading bracelets in my parents' basement. I never set out to be a CEO. I never knew what it would be like to lead a team of 30 plus women and a few men. I never expected it to be what it is today, although I always believed it could be. And I think over those years, I've just learned that just leading with authenticity, kindness, and love is you just got to keep showing up at the core of everything you do in that way, and the rest will follow suit, and I think that we've really seen that come to fruition, especially when we started launching these stores and have seen the customers that have come and have said, I love my bracelets, it gets me through every day, or, oh my God, I literally never thought I would wear this product, but I absolutely love it and love what you're doing. And I think it's because of who we say we are is who we actually are. And if we mess up, we own it and we apologize and we figure it out together. And I think that's all you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that even comes through with our conversation right now. You're genuinely oozing authenticity, and I'm not just saying that. So I love that. And I think that's amazing that trickles into everything that you're doing, no matter where you're selling or, who you're working with. That's awesome. But I want to bring it full circle here. At the beginning, we talked about why mental health was so important to you. How, being a busy entrepreneur, I happen to stalk you on social media. You're also a mom and a wife and, everything else, your social How do you prioritize your mental health amid all of this?
Yeah. By trying very hard to snag those moments where I can. Apart from being, a mom, a wife, my husband actually is also our COO. So
Oh my
there's
gosh.
that added dynamic, which is fun.
Yeah.
If anyone else
Living, breathing little words.
all living, breathing little words at all times. I really, one of the things that I practice is self-care when it comes to like my skincare routine. It sounds so simple, but I just love the moment of slathering crap on my face at night. I'm like, it's a non-negotiable for me, no matter what time of night it is. And I am that girl who, when the baby goes to sleep, I'm working till 1 a.m. And that's hard because, you're also waking up at all hours. But it makes me happy to have that time. And as long as I prioritize the skincare, sounds silly, but all moms can relate, a good long shower and just practicing intentionality and practicing gratitude. I'm not going to lie and say that I meditate or journal or any of the things that a lot of entrepreneurs do. For whatever reason, it's like, you know what? Sometimes it's just, I sit and I watch a full 30-minute Netflix show and I enjoy every second. And I think it's just about prioritizing the moments that you feel happy, letting that happiness permeate through your entire being and just sitting in that for a little, right? And doing what works for you. Like with, I appreciate you in the beginning, Kendall, mentioning everything going on right now. And the awful atrocity that took place in Texas. I haven't felt right posting and it gives me chills to even speak on it. I haven't felt right posting. So I'm just allowing myself to not worry about the work side of things. I don't, on my personal Instagram, which I do try to keep up to inspire and empower, but I'm like, it's not important right now. I'm going to focus on those moments of scrumptiousness with my baby and be grateful and pray and all the things that, whatever works for me in that moment, I'd like to lean into it. And then beyond that, at a company-wide level, we actually just instituted an in-house therapist that we offer 2 free sessions to each of our girls a month.
Wow.
So able to prioritize their mental health right in office. She comes and sits. She's an incredible young woman who has been practicing therapy for 8 years. And she comes in and handles a licensed therapist with my team. So it makes it, and she has a dog too. Can you believe it? She has a little dog that is just the sweetest thing. And he comes in and lays on your lap as you do therapy. It's unbelievable. We perfect. Yeah, and the girls already on my team have said that it's been life-changing. So those types of things, really at the core of what we are, I think I started this thinking, this is going to be about anti-bullying. This is going to be about kindness in schools and all those things we really, really need. But it transformed as I grew up a little bit into being what it really is, which is about mental health. It's about the ability to look down at your wrist and see something, whether it's strength and believe or mama and your kids' initials that gets you through the day, then that's what we are for you. And that's what we want to be through and through.
I love that. I just have to commend you so much I have never heard somebody tell me, I've been doing this for 4 years. I've never heard somebody say that they have a therapist that they give their employees 2 sessions a month. That is game changing. That's groundbreaking. That's amazing. Congratulations on that. I am somebody who is in therapy twice a month as well. And I've been in therapy since I was 22 years old. It's the best decision I've ever made. And so I just think that I couldn't speak higher enough about it. So congratulations to you on making that happen for your employees. It's just truly incredible.
Thank you.
I do want to open it up. There are a couple comments and questions coming in, so I do want to open it up. We only have a few minutes left here, but I'll try to get to all of them. We have Mark said hi from Boston. Hello, Mark. We also have, again, I told you that comment came in from, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, but Asha says, love the consistency. This is a big thing in trusted customers. They also complimented my shirt, so thank you. I appreciate that.
I love it too.
Didn't expect to match the green today. That wasn't on this, but thank you. And then Mary said, great to see you've been focused on getting your core hero product on point. I feel too many small makers try to branch out too soon with too many different products versus focusing on their core product. And that is so true. You hit the nail on the head. You wanted to get this really right, and you have. So that's amazing. We have another comment coming in here from Gary. Gary asked, what's your favorite product? Do you have a favorite line, bracelet? What is it?
My favorite bracelet, my favorite word is believe. And I kind of touched on this earlier with what my mom has been telling me my entire life, querer es poder. And it basically, it's if you want it, you can achieve it. But, I believe to add to that is you must first believe that you can. Yeah. I think it's the most expansive thing you can do is really, truly believing, trusting, knowing in your heart that it is going to be accomplished if you try. So for me, it's like you have to believe it. If you don't believe it, it won't take place because whatever you believe will happen is really, truly something I believe to beat that word to a pulp. Believe bracelet is my favorite product. The bracelet itself is my number one thing. We have so many cool things coming, but still to this day, I could sell this product till, the end of time and I would never get tired of it because one, I'm like a stacked
a true wearer. Yeah.
That beautiful sound is like my favorite sound ever. It's just beautiful. So I don't know. I really love I love it. I love what we've created and what we continue to iterate on in new and in innovative ways. A lot of fun things coming. I mentioned the making it easier to trace. And I think that's a piece of this that's exciting as far as future innovation is concerned. We see the world moving to like Web 3.0 and all of the things, or is it 2.0? I don't know anything. But my husband's on the case and he's looking at, scannable tags and cool different ways to get involved with, the NFTs of the world and the metaverse. And so there's just so many fun things coming that I feel very at the forefront of. So I'm excited about that. But no matter what, it's like, how many different ways can you reinvent the wheel, right? A simple beaded word bracelet. And I think it just goes to show that when you are doing something from true authenticity and true kindness, you can do anything, including sell a bracelet that, you could make on your own. Right. And I think that's something that I'm really very proud of.
Okay. I have one more question that came in from Lindsay when you were talking about this. Which bracelets do you always wear? I'm guessing you always wear Believe. Is there any others that it's always part of your stack, even when you switch it up?
Always. I always wear Believe. It's my number one word. I have on right now, and I've been wearing Mama. I had my baby about 13 months ago. After a long journey, my husband and I actually did IVF to conceive. Going back to mental health and the importance of mental health, I do believe that, when I didn't prioritize it, when I was so focused on working and being a business owner and nothing else mattered, we had a diagnosis of unexplained infertility. And I think to this day, the explanation is probably along the lines of I was not taking care of myself. I was not prioritizing my mental health. My anxiety was through the roof. And I think it really affected that journey for us. So long story short, we did go down that IVF route. I'm a proud mama of a little boy who we got through that process. And, I feel for every woman going through that because it is a flippin' nightmare. But I'm so grateful that we were able to have him. And anyway, long story short, I wear Mama and I wear his initials every day because it reminds me of that journey and of him. And he's a sweetie and I love him. And then my fourth bracelet that I'm wearing right now is my Boston exclusive. So Mark, if you're in Boston, you better go check us out. But this bracelet, it just is like, I don't know. It's just Boston, like I said, with Bleecker, it was lightning in a bottle. Boston is starting to be even better, and it's a pop-up. So I'm like blown away by it. So I snagged this one when we were up there a few weeks ago as just a reminder of like how much we're growing and what we're doing. And I don't know. Yeah.
It's amazing.
So Believe is always on, as is his initials. So
cute. Well, I love that. We are at our end. I could keep talking to you for a million years, but we have reached the end of our conversation, Adriana. But before we sign off here, I just want to ask, is there anything else that you'd like to share before we close out?
Yeah, actually, I did want to share with everything going on right now in Uvalde, Texas, and this awful tragedy that we're all having to witness. We really wanted to make sure that we could give back and be a part of the conversation in a positive way. So we actually did make it so that 100% of our strength bracelet proceeds is going to be donated to the GoFundMe associated with each of the families that have gone through this awful tragedy out there. So that is available on our website. We've already raised about $4,000 thus far in just a matter of less than 24 hours. So it's definitely something we want to see continue. And we've had one of our recent influencers that we worked with, Sydney Ray Bass, reached out about making her Pray bracelet that she created on our website. 100% of the proceeds is being donated to that as well. So if you're interested in giving back, but also receiving a little commemorative moment that will help you look down and remember to have strength, that is a great way to do it. Again, it's 100% going back. So, just thank you everyone for listening, and Kendall for having me. I really enjoyed this conversation. And I think ultimately it gets to the crux of what we're really truly doing here. And that's prioritizing mental health and kindness and self-love, because if you don't love yourself first, who can?
How can you get through it? I appreciate that so much, Adriana. That's truly amazing. Thank you. And then we have left a link to Little Words Project for all of you that are tuning in, so you can click that link, check out all of their bracelets. Obviously that strength bracelet is super important. So Adriana, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, thank you to everyone who has tuned in and who commented and engaged with us today. If you're not already, make sure that you give us a follow or a subscribe for more content like that, just like this, happening all the time. And as we close out today, I urge you to look in the mirror and decide how you are going to be a person who is going to make and help encourage true change in this world. We cannot have another Uvalde, Texas happen. So I beg you, I urge you, please get involved with your communities. Please reach out to your lawmakers. Please find a way to make real change here right now. Donate, go buy the strength bracelet, whatever it may be. Now is the time. We can't do this anymore. And with that, goodbye, everyone.